Hi guys, long time no see. In the last couple weeks of my life, I took a long and harrowing journey into the depths of the nightmarish hellscape known as studying for AP exams, so I didn't have time for things like YouTube and sleep and maintaining my sanity. But now, AP testing is over, and I can finally catch up on Samurai Jack and Attack on Titan Season 2, and I can finally watch Your Name and Guardians 2, and I can finally get around to playing Night in the Woods, and oh dear God, I'm so glad it's over. But I can also finally get back to my YouTube channel, so that's good too. I know I owe you guys a 100 subscribers special, and that is in progress, but in celebration of the amazing Robo Raccoon's birthday, I was recently able to see Guardians of the Galaxy 2 in theaters. I figured, hey, it's been a while since I did a spoiler talk, and considering how many mixed reviews this movie is getting, I might as well throw my opinion out there. Now, for those of you that haven't seen it yet and don't want anything spoiled, I'm just going to get this out of the way. Is the movie good? Yes, the characters are still great and well explored, the plot meanders a bit but has some pretty damn good pacing, and there's a lot of really memorable and hilarious moments in there. If you liked the first, you'll like the second. Give it a go. Now, is it as good as the first? Well, to answer that question, we're going to have to go a little more in depth. First of all, are the characters as great as they are in the first movie? Yes, easily. Everyone you loved in the last movie is in this movie, kicking ass. Rocket's great, Drax is great, Gamora is great, Nebula is still in the movie. Honestly, she's the only one, villain notwithstanding, that didn't really work for me. Everyone else is an absolute delight. Baby Groot is adorable and entertaining and even has a little bit of a mini character arc. I also love how he waves at Gamora all the time. Of course, the movie is centered around Star-Lord himself, who is still a fantastic protagonist that you root for passionately. Yondu is in this movie, and he's great. Trust me, you might not immediately think it when he first makes an appearance, but Yondu is absolutely amazing, and I love him in this film. And the new additions of Mantis and that other guy whose name escapes me are pretty entertaining as well. But there was one other addition that didn't quite hit the mark, and that is Peter's dad. Yep, Peter's dad is in this movie. Why doesn't he work? Well, when he suddenly shows up and starts yapping about upcoming spoilers for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, how he's a god and Peter is a god too, and they're going to spend eternity building crazy shit together, I immediately knew that my growing suspicions about this guy were correct. When you introduce a character and things seem too good to be true, they probably are, especially considering that no main villain had been introduced up until that point, and the guy was already shady as hell. His turn to the dark side was predictable as can be. But in this age of growing story literacy, it's really difficult to pull off plot twists without killing the structure of your movie, so this is a bit more forgivable than I may have made it sound. So, on that note, how is the movie's plot? It's probably its weakest aspect. It kind of just wanders all over the galaxy to whatever it thinks is going to hold your attention. But, to its credit, it does hold your attention. The movie is basically a how-to guide on pacing, ramping up the intensity scene by scene until you reach one hell of a finale. Always right when you feel like things are getting dull, there's an action scene or an intense moment to pull you back in. The actual structure consists of a bunch of character development and growth going on in these mini-arcs with people hanging out in pairs. Rocket and Yondu's character arc is kind of invisible for most of the film, but when you realize that there was one going on, that whole thing with them on the Ravager ship and the mutiny becomes a lot cooler in retrospect. Peter and Gamora still have some unspoken thing going on, and while it does kind of bother me that they still haven't entirely resolved it by the end of the film, they do their best. Peter also has that whole thing with his dad and how he left his mother to die, which is incredibly gripping start to finish. The plot twist of Ego being the villain was predictable as hell, but when it was revealed that he personally put the tumor in her head, the entire theater gasped in shock, myself included. Gamora and Nebula have a thing, and while Nebula seems to be growing as a character a little, her arc is still pretty meh. Oh, and Drax has this hilarious arc where he makes friends with Mantis, who is just ridiculously innocent and sweet and funny and completely ignorant of social cues. In other words, she's Penny from RWBY. But Drax and Mantis aren't the only sources of comedy. This whole movie is stuffed with absolute hilarity. I won't pretend like every single joke lands. There are a few that will make you cringe and a few that don't even come across as jokes, but you will laugh quite a bit during this film. It's got its fair share of visual gags and one-liners, but at times, the comedy is oddly reminiscent of Red vs. Blue. You know, where they stop and talk about really mundane things in the face of these crazy abnormal situations like they're just bored of the abnormal. There's also one spoken line that is really funny in the same way that memes are funny. Like honestly, this line would make a great meme. See if you can guess which one I'm talking about. I'll give you a hint and say that Peter says it while he's talking to his dad. comedy is about playing with expectation, and for the most part, I think this movie understands that. Now that I'm through all that, let's answer the fucking question. Is Guardians 2 as good as the first movie? The answer to that is no. But that isn't even really a criticism, because Guardians 1 is a well-structured and close to perfect film, probably one of the best Marvel films. Guardians 2 would be a really great movie if we didn't have the original to compare it to. In the end, the second movie could be as great as the first if it wasn't for some admittedly minor structural problems that make the movie feel kind of aimless at times. That's all it is. In the end, I'd give Guardians 2 a... I kinda need to figure out a rating system. The whole number on a scale of 1 to 10 thing just doesn't work all that well. I'll get back to you on that. In lieu of a better system, I'll give a 7.5 out of 10. It's not quite good enough for an 8, but not quite bad enough for a 7. For context, I'll also award the original Guardians a 9 out of 10. Hopefully I've made my opinion clear. In case I haven't, I'll say it one more time. The movie is great, highly enjoyable, and emotionally powerful, and absolutely worth your time. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all on the flip side. Later!